2009 Ford Explorer with a grumbly front bearing. I diagnosed it by lifting all 4 tires off the ground, putting it in gear at idle, and then I went around and stopped each tire with my foot. And that's the bad one. It wasn't loose at all. You want to start by removing the entire caliper assembly. Not the brake shoes, the entire caliper. And once you get it off, you want to hang it. I use a piece of wire. Don't let it hang off of the hoses itself. That's bad. Next, you're going to want to pull that axle nut off. You won't need a 1-inch impact like I use. I just didn't have a 1/2-inch impact that would work, so I went to the big truck stuff. Then I'm using a rivet nailer to drive the axle stub back. That also isn't required. You could do it with a block of wood. You're going to want to get to the 3 bolts at the back side of the spindle. Those bolts are 15 millimeter. These are 8 millimeter to remove the shroud. Get that out of your way, and then you go back and forth with the hammer. This was a nightmare. I didn't have the special tools for it. Trying to spin the actual hub in the front spindle was unsuccessful. I ended up breaking a hammerhead off. I'm not actually ever hitting it very hard. First, you can't get in there to really whack on it. I'm just doing lots and lots and lots of taps, and what actually ended up working was driving it back and forth, back and forth. That's what finally did it. Once I got a crack large enough, I get a screwdriver in. I would put the screwdriver into the crack and then hammer it back in, actually hammering it in and out, in and out, in and out. Here comes the screwdriver there. It took a long time. It makes you want to slit your wrists, but there's just no other way to do it. And you don't dare get too wild and crazy for fear that you break something, and you got to get a new one back in. I've heard horror stories of people having to cut these out with torches. I didn't end up having to do that, but then I don't live in a rust belt. Putting it back together with that much rust in there would be hammering it back in place. So I scraped at the rust what I could, and then got some sandpaper to remove it as nice as I could manage anyways in the snow and rain. No such thing as too clean. I then, as a gift to the next guy, smeared it with anti-seize. Books don't say to do this, but yeah, I mean, come on. Line up the 3 bolts and then use the wrenches to tighten it up. Once again, it would have been awesome if I'd had a 15 millimeter socket. Did I not mention that? Yeah, apparently I've managed to lose my 15 millimeter socket, and since I don't actually do much with metric, I hadn't noticed. So the whole thing was done by stacking wrenches. Not the most awesome way to go about it, though it did give me the leverage that I needed. I will have to replace my 15 mil and get back in there and torque those. And if I remember correctly, the torque setting was like 125, 135. So I'll have to do that for sure. Put the shroud back on, 8 mil again, and then start running the wires. Because these are a universal kit, they don't match precisely, and at times that was frustrating. But I was able to get it to work well enough, and zip ties always come to the rescue. Here again, trying to get it into the original clips when it doesn't have all the rubber grommets in the same place and it has extra ones. We got her. I just give the rotor a wire brush. This thing had brand new brakes on it, and put that big old caliper back on. I started with the bottom bolt. No, I started with the top bolt, failed miserably, and got the bottom bolt to start. Then the top bolt was fine. And I just tightened these up. I want to say that these are 17, 18 maybe millimeter, and then I went ahead and torqued them. And, these were torqued to 120 foot-pounds. Again, messing with that wire. It clips inside the inner fender well. It works really nice. The clips weren't fragile, they didn't shatter, it just boop, came right off. And so that part was awesome. And then I just got her in place, used the mounts that could be used, didn't use the mounts that couldn't, and wadded up the wire and tied it up tight. With a zip tie, you certainly don't want this loose. I don't like the fact that it rubbed where it did, so I ripped some of the wire armor off the old one and put it on the new one to give it a little extra protection. After putting some anti-seize on those new bolt threads so they didn't get crunky, I went ahead and put the wheel back on and torqued it properly. That center axle nut, you want to look it up. It's really high, the actual torque, and I didn't have, like I said, a socket, an impact socket anyway. So I just used the torque wrench after doing the lug nuts and just torqued it really, really high. Alright, so we're in and we're about to go. The ABS light is on. I've been told that's really quite normal and that it should clear itself after we've driven a little ways and it's gotten some sensor readings from the wheels. We're about to find out. Okay, well, we're already past what I was told would fix it, which was back it up a bit. There she went. Look at that. ABS is back on and working. Now, let's find out if the grumblies went away. Stay quiet. So that got her. Okay, that's successful. Well, here's our sweetheart out. It is most definitely bad. This is what stuck in there so hard. Is that face right there. You see, it took a fair bit to get it out, and it was tipping it back and forth. It finally did it, right? So you pound it this way, stick a screwdriver in here, pound it that way, and actually physically force it back and forth. And I'd have done better with some more time on the penetrating oil. But I can see why they talk about on these Fords from the Rust Belt that basically you have to burn the thing down and move to Mexico because they just won't come out. Pulling the whole front suspension, everything, just to get the spindles out, to put them in presses, only to bend the entire spindle when you try to press on them. I guess the rears are really, really bad. So here's hoping I don't have to do that in the life of the vehicle. You see, there's where I tried to get it to spin back and forth. But you can hear the beastie. So it most definitely was bad. I've seen these used as like pivot points and kids' merry-go-rounds and stuff. I think this one goes straight into the scrap steel barrel so the Chinese can turn it into products. Because Lord knows we don't do that anymore. 138,000. Probably died as a result of a seal failure. I'm positive that what ended up happening is the grease dried out and then she got grumbly and got hot. But yeah, there it be. Good luck with yours.